Just want to put the tip in.
It's time for Just the Tip.
That would make me uncomfortable.
Promise that it ain't too much, but just enough. Just a tip. Just a tip.
Just the tip? Just the tip.
Just really wondering, are we going to get hopped up enough to make some bad decisions? Perhaps play a little game called Just the Tip. Just for a second, just to see how it feels.
It's time for
Just the Tip
with Mike Tipton.
What's going on, everybody? It's been a little while since I used that intro, so I decided I wanted to use that intro today. I hope that's wasn't too much for some people out there. But it is Just the Tip. I'm hanging out here by myself. I'm not going to be able to do Fire and Ice on Saturday because I've got some previous engagements, but I also didn't want to miss what's going on in the world of the NFL. So here I am making sure that I've got everything that I want to get done. I'm going to send Brandon a little link, see if he wants to join and be a part of the show as well. So we'll see if he actually does join in and be a part of everything that's going on. But if not, hey, at least we got me and you, and we're hanging out here and we're having a good old time, right? And that's the most important thing. Before I go ahead, I'm on Facebook right now trying to send that message out that I told you I was going to send out. And the first thing I see is where over the weekend I said, F you, Steve Young. I guess it wasn't the weekend. I guess it was on Monday that I said, F you, Steve Young, because he decided that he wanted to be a little bit of a jerk when talking about the Dallas Cowboys. So I get reminded constantly about the things I say, and I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing or a bad thing. Okay, so I wanted to make sure that I had one of the streams going. The stream's good. It sounds good. Been a while since I've done this stuff here at home. Being reminded that the Golden State Warriors have a lead right now with 78-72 means literally nothing to me because we're in the middle of football playoff season. I hate to be that much of a jerk, but it's the truth. All I'm focused on right now is getting through what this team is going to be able to do because, as you know, I'm a glutton for pain. And they are ultimately going to shatter my heart and be the reason why I die at a young age. But you know what? At least I'll be happy because, hey, you know, it's the Dallas Cowboys. And they are my most toxic relationship. I will always love them. I'm like Whitney Houston. I will always love the Dallas Cowboys, no matter how much it pains me. But before we get into some of the stuff that is going on with the NFL, I want to remind everybody that we are brought to you here on the Just the Tip Network and everything that we are doing with the Tipping Point with Mike Tipton and all of the other things we're doing, Fire and Ice, some podcasts that we're going to have coming up in the near future as well, and possibly maybe even some trips going forward into a couple of other cities and places like that. We'll see how that goes. We are all brought to you by Three Missions Brewery, our friends over there at Three Missions Brewery, 10179 Socorro Road. They've got some new beers, so you got to go check out those beers. I was there a couple of weeks ago. I had the Socorro Blondie because that's always going to be my favorite, but the pecan beer is always a winner. The pomegranate beer with the rimmed and the chamoy rim and all that stuff is always going to be a winner to people as well. But they've also got a brand new beer that they just debuted this week, the new El Trio Membrillo. And I am terrible at my Spanish, so I hope I didn't butcher that all too badly. So we shall see what goes on with there as well. I got a question here, though, from my dude, the one and only Jonathan Hood, asking, Zeke or Pollard, what do you do next year? Also, is all forgiven with Mike McCarthy? As far as Zeke or Pollard go, I feel like you have to go with whoever the cheaper option is going to be, right? I would love to see the Dallas Cowboys keep both Pollard and Zeke, but I don't know if that's actually going to be something that they can do. So whenever you look at this season, Pollard had his breakout season. We've all been waiting for this, right? All the touchdowns, all the yards. He had 1,000 yards rushing. He's done it all for the Dallas Cowboys. And yet it still seems like Zeke was the touchdown vulture, that Zeke was the guy getting it when the ball mattered the most. How did the Dallas Cowboys justify paying both of them, right? Well, Zeke is at the end of a very long contract, and if I remember the contract correctly, he has this year basically like the Antonio Brown deal was with the Pittsburgh Steelers a couple of years ago, where it's like they don't basically owe him anything. This is the part where there's not that much of a hit on the salary cap if they get rid of Zeke. So I feel like, do you make the same mistake that you did a couple of years ago where you paid Zeke this huge contract and then handcuff your team to this player who might not perform at the way that he's performed in the past? So if I have to keep either one of them, obviously I think I'd lean more towards Pollard, but I believe that you could probably restructure some deals and keep Zeke and keep Pollard. But if I'm the Dallas Cowboys, because running back is such an interchangeable position, and I know this sounds, lucrative to a bunch of people, and it sounds like I'm just a heartless SOB, which I'm completely fine with. If that's the case, why not eye a running back or a couple of running backs in the draft? Because we know that running back is the most interchangeable position in the NFL. So if I'm the Dallas Cowboys, I don't even know if I'm necessarily wanting to stick with either Zeke or Pollard, because you know that you're going to have to pay those guys. You've already got a lot of money tied up in Dak Prescott. You're going to have a lot of money to pay CD Lamb, who I feel is the more dynamic player on your team, and that's going to be a contract coming up. You've just signed Dalton Schultz to the franchise tag. So what do you do with him? Because he's still the best receiving tight end on the team. And it's going to be interesting to see how the Dallas Cowboys navigate those waters. But if I'm the Dallas Cowboys, I'm saying bye-bye to both of them if they both want to walk. If they don't want to play ball and actually be a part of what the Dallas Cowboys are doing and, put aside ego, as Dan Morales says, Zeke's head is too big to take a pay cut. The thing that I would bring up to them is, if you want to win, you have to be willing to take pay cuts. You have to be willing to do that stuff. Look at what Tom Brady did. That's how Tom Brady was able to win his championships, because he was able to put his ego aside with the New England Patriots and say, I'll take a pay cut so we can build a team around us. The last time he did that, they wound up not building the team around him the way that he wanted them to build the team. And that ultimately cost the Patriots having Tom Brady and renewing that and going on. And we all know how that turned out, right? So if I'm the Dallas Cowboys, I say, this is my hard line. Either you're in or you're out. If you're out, thank you for the memories. If you're in, let's build on and try to get something going for the future. Because I don't think, as much as I love the Dallas Cowboys, I don't think this team is built to win a championship right now, right? We always see it, and I've harped on it way too much in sports. There's these tiers that you have to get to when it comes to winning in those major sports atmospheres, right? We saw it with the Bulls, Jordan getting bounced out by the Celtics despite scoring 63 points, then gets bounced out by the Pistons. Finally, overcomes the Pistons and starts winning his championships. That's the type of growing pains that I guess I'm used to seeing, but I'm also, a little more old school than most people are, where I expect to see some of those issues whenever it comes to growing pains with teams. The way that the Cowboys lost last year in the divisional round of the 49ers, that's a growing pain. If they lose back-to-back years to the 49ers, that would once again be a growing pain. I wouldn't be surprised by that, because I feel that the 49ers are the best team in the NFL. So it's hard for me to say, okay, if the Dallas Cowboys lose the 49ers, it was a lost season. I came into this season thinking that this team would win 9 to 10 games, be a wild card team like they are, and not be as good as they are. So I'm already above the curve when it comes to the Dallas Cowboys. I feel like they're better because they actually performed consistently this year, despite them having a little bit of inconsistencies throughout the season, right? I wanted back-to-back winning seasons. I wanted back-to-back playoff appearances as a Cowboys fan, and I got that. I see the salary cap restrictions that they have, and I feel like they have so much more issues with that salary cap if they choose to keep Zeke and Pollard, or Zeke or Pollard, because Pollard played this year and he's going to demand a lot of money. And you know what? He has earned that money. If he turns down a contract from the Dallas Cowboys because they're not willing to pay him and another team is willing to pay him, I ain't turning down nothing but my collar. Old boy deserved it. He earned it. He got his, right? That's ultimately what it comes down to for running backs, especially, again, being the most interchangeable position in sports, is if you have the opportunity to strike while the iron's hot, you got to strike while the iron's hot. I'll never be mad at Zeke for taking that contract, because we see the lifespan of running backs doesn't last as long as Zeke Elliott has lasted in the NFL. So for me, again, if I'm the Cowboys, I'm not hung up on keeping either one. If they want to go, so be it. I'll see y'all later. It was fun. Thank you. But I'd love to see them stay as a fan. I don't hate on Zeke as much as a lot of other Dallas Cowboys hate on Zeke. The same way I don't hate on Dak, the way a lot of Dallas Cowboy fans hate on Dak. And I don't hate on Brett Maher the way that a lot of Dallas Cowboy fans hate on Brett Maher, which I totally 100% understand if they do, right? Not the Zeke thing, not the Dak thing, kind of the Dak thing. Definitely understand the Maher thing. We're stuck with him for now, right? Sets an NFL record missing 4 extra points. There was going to be another superlative that came out of my mouth. Missed 4 extra points for the Dallas Cowboys. Ultimately, they win the game because Tampa Bay just wasn't good enough to be in the playoffs. They didn't deserve to be in the playoffs, but someone from each division has to be there, right? That's the way that cookie crumbled. I don't want to get caught up on all the Dallas Cowboys stuff. I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about some NFL news as well. The NFL just announced their schedule for what they're going to have, or I guess not the schedule, but the teams that are going to play in the 2023 international games. It's going to be the Bills, the Titans, the Jaguars, the Chiefs, and the New England Patriots. The Jags will be back home, and they're home away from home at London's Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. If you don't know, that's basically where the Jaguars play every single year. It seems like the Jaguars are basically the NFL's British team right now. They spend time in Britain more than any other team in the NFL. But the Chiefs and the Patriots are also going to play a regular season game in Germany. Those cities have yet to be decided right now. We just know that they are going to be playing these games in other cities or in other states, other countries rather. And this will be the second trip to London for the Bills and the Tennessee. The Bills played there once in 2015. The Titans played there in 2018. The Jacksonville Jaguars, as we already know, that's basically home away from home. So we'll see kind of how that stuff goes with those teams going forward and what they do, how the season goes. I'm excited. I love these international games. I was lucky enough to go down to Mexico City, watch the 49ers slap around the Arizona Cardinals. I was very surprised at the amount of 49er fans there because I didn't know what to expect, right? It's the first time I've seen a professional football game in Mexico City. I know the stadium gets packed. I didn't realize that it was the majority of Americans going down there on like a little vacation, a little holiday to go watch their favorite team play. Makes total sense whenever I think about it in hindsight, but it wasn't something that I initially thought to begin with. So that was something that was really cool to see. I am excited though. I'm all in on these international NFL games. I wanted to go to London. I got turned down for London. I wasn't going to try to go to Germany, so I didn't get turned down for Germany, but I was able to go to Mexico City. I was able to have a fun time out there. Awesome, awesome atmosphere being there at Estadio Azteca, watching these two teams. Like, I had nothing to do with these two teams. I didn't have a dog in this fight. It was just awesome to go down there and check out that game. Tried to get to the Super Bowl, got turned down for the Super Bowl. Tried to go to the Pro Bowl, got turned down for the Pro Bowl today. So we'll see how all that stuff goes. Luckily, I have a background where I've already been to the NFL draft, so we'll see if I get to go to the NFL draft in April. That's the next step as we try to evolve here on the Just the Tip Network, doing all the stuff that we're doing, trying to cover football as best I can in the city of El Paso for the city of El Paso. Before we get into the games, I kind of wanted to go over a couple of some of the, injury reports. These are the only teams that are left, right? Jacksonville, Kansas City. Then we've got the Giants in Philadelphia, Buffalo and Cincinnati, and then the Dallas Cowboys of San Francisco. This is it. That's all we got. These 8 teams. 4 games this weekend before it starts dwindling down. And as I said last week, we are in the middle of our dirty, dirty lovemaking session with the NFL. We're currently having sex with the NFL, right? Football is right here. The regular season was all the fun foreplay. Now we're finally getting it in, and we're going to have our shame, our dirty, dirty shame glaze where we're covered in that at the end of the Super Bowl. But you know what? It'll all be worth it. I just realized right now that I'm a little graphic at times whenever I talk. But the injury report, looking at Jacksonville and Kansas City, that to me is going to be one of the more interesting games. I love what I've seen out of Jacksonville. I've been all in on Jacksonville since about week 2 of the NFL season, and this wasn't a team that was, barn burners at that point in time. They just find ways to win. They find ways to be competitive. They've gone through their growing pains. Doug Peterson, Super Bowl winning head coach with the Philadelphia Eagles, is doing a phenomenal job with the Jacksonville Jaguars. So I'm super excited about their future. Trevor Lawrence has proven that he is ultimately that dude. So if you doubted Trevor Lawrence, shame on you, because the dude is damn good. Urban Meyer's just not a good coach. I will say that to the day I die, and I know it's blasphemy for college football fans to hear that. College football and the NFL, two completely separate places. Nick Saban's the greatest head coach in the history of college football. Couldn't do jack shit in the NFL. It's just not the way that it translates, right? You have to have that personality to realize that these guys are adults. For one, they're professionals. They're getting paid to be here. You can't go around doing all the silly stuff that you did in college as little motivator factors and things like that. And that to me was the thing that I think Urban Meyer had the hardest time trying to get to understand and trying to get through his thick skull, because he's the dumbest individual in the history of dumb individuals. Forgot to crack open my Yingling a little bit earlier. Cheers. Y'all know I love me some Yingling. The bars I love going to, for whatever reason, don't serve Yingling anymore. It makes me upset, but I still go because I love these places. The one place that doesn't make me upset, though, whenever I go, because I know what to expect, is Three Missions Brewery down at 10179 Socorro Road. Go check them out. They've got the pomegranate beer. They've got the churro beer. They've got the pecan beer. They've got the Socorro Blondie, which is my favorite. And, of course, they've got the brand new beer that they just released this week, the El Trio Membrillo. I've got to check that out. I haven't been there. I want to go sometime this week. Maybe I'll go Saturday. Maybe I'll go Friday. We'll see how it goes. But I am also a member of the Mug Club, and I believe those memberships end. The last chance to get them is this weekend. So go ahead, look out their website, check out their website, threemissionsbrewery.com. Follow them on social media at Three Missions Brewery. Become a member of the Mug Club. Get hooked up with some awesome merch the way that I am as well. And hey, who knows? Maybe you'll find yourself your new favorite beer. Looking at the injury report, that thing that I've been saying I've been wanting to do for the last 45 minutes, and it seems I haven't been able to get there because I keep sidetracking myself in all these different ways. Some questionable some questionable players. I'm not going to go through the whole list, but questionable players for the Jacksonville Jaguars is their speedy wide receiver and kickoff returner, Jamal Agnew. He's had a little bit of a shoulder issue. They've got Trevor Lawrence on the injured list, but he's always been on the injured list since I want to say about the third week of the season. But the thing with them, whenever you have people that were limited in practice, again, this Thursday, it was offensive linemen that they have. They had their starting center, their starting offensive guard, right guard as well. So those are the things that you got to look at. And then one of the things that we took for granted that I think people forgot about earlier in the year, the importance of a long snapper. We saw the issues that the Cincinnati Bengals had whenever their long snapper was injured. The Jaguars long snapper also limited in practice as well. For the Kansas City Chiefs, they only got one player out. That's wide receiver Mecole Hardman. Dude is one of the speediest receivers in the NFL, but as we know, Patrick Mahomes, right? The Giants, they've got limited people that have been, or I guess a small amount of people that are on the injured list. Linebacker Azeez Ojulari is on the injured list as well. And then for the Philadelphia Eagles, cornerback Avonte Maddox is out with a toe injury. So it'll be interesting to see kind of how that matchup goes. I can't wait to start talking about that. I am here to break down some of these games, right? For the Buffalo Bills, they've got nobody out. Nobody's questionable. People that were limited in practice, it was Jordan Poyer, their safety. He had a knee injury, kind of, but they said that they rested him just because they wanted to rest him. I guess old boy's getting a little old. Nobody, though, for the Cincinnati Bengals was limited in practice at all. So good for the Cincinnati Bengals, finally healthy at the right time. The Dallas Cowboys, offensive lineman Jason Peters, we saw him limp off of the field last week as the Dallas Cowboys beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Seems like he's been limited in practice. They have him as questionable. We'll see whether or not he actually plays for the Cowboys. And for the 49ers, basically the same people that they've had out the entire season. Jimmy Garoppolo was out, and Trent Williams, they had kind of sitting down, nothing to look at in that area whenever it comes to those teams. I'm going to save my team for last. I'll talk about the Dallas Cowboys and the San Francisco 49ers for last because I got a lot of opinions on that. So I will speed through some of these other games that are out there, right? The game that I said that I thought would be super interesting to watch is the Jacksonville Jaguars taking on the Kansas City Chiefs. The reason why I'm so interested in that game is because you have a young team on the rise that's just here to mess things up. They have no expectations. No one thought they were going to win their division. They come through, they win their division. Nobody thought that this team was going to be able to beat the San Diego Chargers, the LA Chargers. Boom, just like that, they come through and defeat the LA Chargers. This is a good team. They're better than what people give them their props for, and they're better than what a lot of people out there think. To me, though, they're not as good as the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs don't have a solid defense. The Chiefs don't have a great run game, but the Chiefs have Patrick Mahomes. And Patrick Mahomes can get the ball to anybody at any time. Everybody thought that Patrick Mahomes was going to take a step back. He's not going to lead the league in any type of category simply because he doesn't have Tyreek Hill. And all he did this year was just utterly dominate and make a case for him being the MVP. And it seems like every single year, Patrick Mahomes should be the MVP. This year again, led the league in pass yards, 5,250 pass yards, has 41 touchdowns to 12 interceptions, leading the NFL in touchdowns over Josh Allen by 6, over Joe Burrow by 6 as well. The dude is just flatly great. He had one of the highest passer ratings in the NFL this year too. He, I want to say, had the highest yards per attempt in the NFL this year as well. Like it's just amazing what Patrick Mahomes is able to do, and he is that guy. There is no doubting anymore that Patrick Mahomes is just flatly one of, if not the best quarterback in the NFL. No debating it. And if Jacksonville loses to the Kansas City Chiefs, there's absolutely no shame in that. If you're the Jacksonville Jaguars, you did more than what everyone else thought you were going to do at the beginning of the season. You just ran into a buzzsaw known as the Kansas City Chiefs. My pick for this one would be the Kansas City Chiefs over the Jacksonville Jaguars, as much as it pains me to say that, because I actually do like the Jacksonville Jaguars. I just think Kansas City is an overwhelming team. The next game here on the docket, the New York Giants at the Philadelphia Eagles. This one is going to be a really interesting game. We've seen the come out party already of Daniel Jones. We've already seen it this year too of Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts announcing himself as the guy in Philadelphia. There were some growing pains there. He's become an outstanding quarterback, an outstanding dual threat quarterback, and you just see the dude is flatly strong. Nick Sirianni's got himself a good team over there. He finally got some receivers, and having A.J. Brown. The Philadelphia Eagles seem to be on the right track. They lost 2 out of their last 3. I get it. The Giants took them to the proverbial edge whenever it came down to the last game of the season. The Giants needed nothing out of that, so they didn't even play their starters. And I think this game wasn't indicative of anything. I think Philadelphia is the better team. The Eagles were just playing with their food. That's what we've seen from them in that game with the Giants. The Eagles were just playing with their food. They should have handed the Giants a big old L in that game, the same way the Cowboys should have handed an L to the Washington football team. The Eagles are flatly the better team. But there seems to be some magic in these New York Giants. This is a team that can control the ball. This is a team that can make sure that dynamic offense of the Philadelphia Eagles doesn't get on the field. They've got a great running game with Saquon Barkley and, yes, Daniel Jones running a 1950s style option, playbook that they've got down there in New York with the Giants. This is a good team. They do have some weapons. Bellinger has proven himself as a weapon. Slayton has proven himself as a weapon. They've got a solid defense. I'll give them, they can get pressure whenever they need to get pressure. They just seem to have a little bit of that magic, right? That je ne sais quoi that everyone always talks about. Don't know what it is, but they've got the sun shining on their ass right now, as Woody Harrelson said, and white men can't jump. I cannot, though, in good conscience, choose the New York Giants over the Philadelphia Eagles as much as I want to. If it was up to me, I would hope that a meteor came down, landed on the field. Nobody got hurt, but the game had to be postponed and couldn't ever be played again. And nobody won. And automatically the winner between the Dallas Cowboys and the San Francisco 49ers goes to the Super Bowl. That would be my ideal situation. Maybe not the world's ideal situation, but it would be my ideal situation whenever it comes down to that. And my sister Felicia Week saying that I just broke Travis's heart, my brother-in-law. Got nothing but love for you, my dude. You already know it. I had to get it done. The Giants won't be able to. I'd love to see that upset. Trust me, I would love to see that upset because I hate either team. I like watching those teams lose more than I like watching the Dallas Cowboys win. That's the type of hater that I am. I've got no problem saying that. I am 100% honest with who I am as an individual, with who I am as a person. I am that kind of a hater. I like watching the San Francisco 49ers lose more than I like watching the Dallas Cowboys win. That's what I'm rooting for as a Cowboys fan, right? But there you go. Game 1, I believe Kansas City is going to win. They're just an overwhelming team with an overwhelming offense and the greatest quarterback in the NFL right now. And then I think the Philadelphia Eagles win because I think they're just more of a complete team. It's not a knock on the New York Giants. I've already said my part. I've asked for forgiveness from Giants Nation. I was wrong. I called you a fraudulent team. I said that you weren't good enough to be where you are. I didn't think they were going to make the playoffs. This team has proven me wrong time and time again. I'll take my L on that. You can't spell Michael without an L. I'll take my L on this one because I was flatly wrong about the New York Giants. They've got some stuff going their way. Brian Dable has seemed to have fixed Daniel Jones. The NFC East looks like it's got some teams and some competition going forward. But I just think the Philadelphia Eagles are a much more complete team than what we have with the New York Giants right now. Then again, on Sunday, we have the Cincinnati Bengals and the Buffalo Bills. This is a really interesting game. This is a game that I am all in on because we didn't get to see what happened due to the unfortunate injury to Damar Hamlin, and thankfully he's in much better shape now. But you get to see this game finally play out. Buffalo has had a little bit of setbacks at the end of this season. But all I think that is another team saying, look, we're good. We can turn it on whenever we want to, kind of like LeBron in his prime, right? I can turn it on whenever I want to. We'll turn it on in the playoffs, and we'll make ourselves champions. Buffalo went into that game last week underestimating the Miami Dolphins and let that team hang around. They were looking ahead. They were playing with their food, as I said earlier. Now they're playing against the Cincinnati Bengals, a bona fide stud team in the NFL. This is a team that represented the AFC in the Super Bowl last year, ultimately losing to the LA Rams. But this is a team that is good. They've got an overwhelming offense. They've got a solid offensive line that still has its troubles. But Buffalo's weakness is now that they don't have Von Miller anymore, they haven't been able to generate the pass rush that they had at the beginning of the season. An overwhelming pass rush at the beginning of the season. They've had some injuries in the secondary, as we know, very well documented injuries here. But that offense is just so overwhelming that if it becomes a shootout, because Cincinnati doesn't have a great defense either, if this game becomes a shootout, I'm taking my chances with Josh Allen. The dude's gifted. It's not taking anything away from Joe Burrow. It's not taking anything away from Cincinnati. It just seems like this is a team that can put up points with anybody and score whenever they need to. I like what I see out of the Buffalo Bills. I've always been a fan of Josh Allen. Whenever he got drafted, I said, boom, there you go. That's a guy that's going to be great in the NFL because he knows how to put in that work. And what does he do? He puts in that work. He does whatever it takes for him to get better. Love that about Josh Allen. Love that about the Buffalo Bills. Plus, you got the ancillary storylines of this is a team that everyone is rooting for at this moment because of what happened to them earlier in the season with Damar Hamlin, because of what's happened to the city of Buffalo over the last couple of months. It's been tough in that area. I just don't want to see them win a Super Bowl because I'm a hater like that. But I think they're a good team. I think they're one of the best teams in the NFL. To me, it's San Francisco, Kansas City, Buffalo. That's the way that I have my list of the top teams in the NFL. There's not like a huge gap in between any of these teams. They're so good. But if you had to knock either team between Cincinnati and Buffalo, it would be that neither one of them have a great defense. And I'll take that offense in Kansas City over another pretty dynamic offense in Cincinnati, just because I know that I've seen this happen time and time again with the Buffalo Bills. They led the league in point differential this year. Josh Allen, once again, second in the NFL in touchdown passes. Yes, tied with Joe Burrow. But Josh Allen did all that with an injured elbow. That elbow still hurt. And to me, I think with Singletary and with Cook, the Bills just have a slightly better running game. I love this matchup. I think this is going to be another one of those games that we had last year between Kansas City and Buffalo that's an absolute shootout, that you just inject that into my veins, and I'll be happy with all the football I get. But I'll take Buffalo in that. So, right now, the way that it stands, the AFC Championship game I have, once again, between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Buffalo Bills. I think everyone would sign up for that, especially at the beginning of the season. Then right now in the NFC, I have the Philadelphia Eagles. Finally is the time. We'll see how this goes. Where I, the belligerent Dallas Cowboys fan, who needs another drink, will determine in my mind and in my heart what I think is going to happen. You can already see the white hair starting to grow a little more. Your boy's looking a little more aged because the Dallas Cowboys are just going to age me. That's what they do. I hate that I love this team, but I cannot stop loving them. Once again, my most toxic relationship is the Dallas Cowboys. I've got no problem saying that. They've rewarded me over my lifetime with 3 Super Bowl championships, and then they've also hurt me more than anything has ever hurt me in my life by Dak sliding with 14 seconds left, and then the next game, Patrick Mahomes winning a game with 13 seconds left somehow. It's just asinine being a Cowboys fan. I will say this as the defensive Cowboys fan. I am tired, just flatly tired, of the 49ers fan base, the 49ers faithful. I get it. I'm about it, right? And Cowboys fans can be annoying. But for San Francisco 49er fans to hang their hat on, well, at least we made the Super Bowl. Congrats. Good for you. You've done something that other teams have done as well. But you know what you did that those other teams also did? Ended the season with an L. It's so hard for me to sit back and listen to the banter back and forth of, well, you know, the Cowboys have had a losing streak of 28 years where they haven't won a Super Bowl. Yeah, it's hard to win Super Bowls unless you're Tom Brady. Then it's second nature. But even Tom Brady has won less Super Bowls than he's won, or lost more, you know, Super Bowl chances than what he's won. He's got 7 out of 23 years. Yeah, that's amazing, but it's not anything that's, you know, normal. It's such an out of this world thing that, yeah, it's hard for these teams to win Super Bowls. It's hard for the Dallas Cowboys to win Super Bowls. Anyone that's watched the stuff that I said in the past, I've said this a bunch of times. Each team has a 1 in 32 chance of winning a Super Bowl, which means if you win one Super Bowl every 32 years, you are on average of where you should be. Flatly that way. That is just how the statistic works. That is the analytic part of it, right? If you win one Super Bowl every 32 years, you are on par with all the other teams because that's the way it should be. A 1 in 32 chance. That's how you should be winning your Super Bowls. Doesn't work that way all the time. We know that. But San Francisco 49er fans have said such a long time, ha ha ha, look at the Dallas Cowboys. It's been 28 years since you won a Super Bowl. Forgetting that for the San Francisco 49ers, it's been 29 years since they won a Super Bowl. And I pointed that out because that's why I said F Steve Young the other day whenever I was watching TV and Steve Young wanted to bring this up. You've got to earn the star on your helmet. The Dallas Cowboys are babied, and they have this mindset of it's Super Bowl or bust. That's sports, dude. That's how it should be for every damn sports team. If your team isn't building a team to win the Super Bowl, then what the hell are they doing? I would love to ask that question to these fans and say, oh, the Dallas Cowboys are like, oh, this year's our year. Literally every fan base says that. Might not be as vocal about it because the only time that it gets amplified is whenever this team or their supporters say something like that. How is the 49ers making it to 2 Super Bowls better than the Dallas Cowboys not making it to 2 Super Bowls? They both ended the season not Super Bowl champions. So yes, one drought slightly longer than the other. To me, they're the same damn thing. It's the exact same thing. You have been just as inadequate and just as abysmal as the Dallas Cowboys have been because you haven't come home with that ring. That is flatly the way that it works. If you are not the champion, it doesn't matter if you made it to the game, you still lost. And then if you want to look at ineptitude and things like that, the Dallas Cowboys haven't had the number 1 overall pick in the last 28 years. You know who's had it a bunch of times? The San Francisco 49ers, being the worst team in the NFL a handful of times, getting the number 1 overall pick. It's easier to build your franchise whenever you get those picks. And maybe I sound like a bitter-ass Dallas Cowboys fan, but I think it's just at that point now where, to me, it's like, what the hell are we doing? Why is this even a conversation? How is this even a point that we've come to as fans where we can sit there and say, but the 49ers made it. So what? So the hell what? I would love to know that, right? But I'll get off my soapbox when it comes to just shitting on 49ers fans because I just don't understand it. The same thing with Raiders fans. 1983, your team last won a Super Bowl before I was born, yet somehow you're talking shit to me about the Dallas Cowboys not winning a Super Bowl since I was 11. I don't get. If your team hasn't won anything within the last 30 years, I believe your mouth should be shut. That's just the way that I feel, right? But you know how fan bases are. You know how fan bases can get. So looking at this game, now that I've got that off my chest, it feels like the weight of the world was just lifted off my shoulders. And now I can be the nice, normal, happy individual that I always am. Also, shout out to Yingling. I will say this. When I look at the matchup of these two teams, the line of demarcation here where the San Francisco 49ers became just that much better, where they rose from being one of those mid-tier teams to the cream of the crop, was with the trade that they got, getting Christian McCaffrey. That will go down as one of the greatest mid-season acquisitions in the history of the NFL, simply because that type of trade doesn't happen at the trade deadline. That's an acquisition that you get at the end of the season, where it helps out your team for the next year, not in the middle of the year that you are currently participating in. I loved that move from the 49ers. And it seems now that Christian McCaffrey is finally starting to gel with this team and is now able to do the things that we got used to seeing Christian McCaffrey do. Sorry, I'm reaching for some stuff. That we got used to seeing Christian McCaffrey do whenever he was with the Carolina Panthers. The guy is just utterly one of the best in the NFL whenever he's healthy. Flatly, there's no way that people can disagree with that statement. He is flatly one of the best in the NFL whenever it comes down to that. To me, the issue that I think San Francisco has is that they haven't played anybody, right? You get fat off of playing teams that are flatly worse than you are. That the Minnesota Vikings, right? We got to see them win in that division. It looked tough for a few of them, but they played the Bears twice a year. And then whenever you look at the other divisions that they played, it wasn't anything to write home about, right? They got fat on the teams they were supposed to get fat on. The thing that you have to worry about if you're a 49ers fan, and I loved seeing this the other day from one of them, was whenever they sent out this post saying the Dallas Cowboys fans need to remember Tampa Bay's defense isn't the 49ers defense. Agreed, 100%. They're two completely different teams. But what you also have to realize is that in your division, in the NFC West, you had the Seahawks, you had the Rams, and you had the Cardinals. None of those teams were anything to write home about. The Seahawks massively overachieved. So in that aspect, none of the offenses that the 49ers team has faced is as dynamic as the Dallas Cowboys offense is as balanced as the Dallas Cowboys offense is. None of the defenses that the San Francisco 49ers faced are as balanced as the Dallas Cowboys defense is. The one glaring hole that I see with the Dallas Cowboys is the major strength of the San Francisco 49ers. And that is the Dallas Cowboys cannot stop the run. Flatly, they can't. They have become a team that you can just run the ball on them, it seems, at any point in time. That's what Washington did. That's what a lot of these teams that are remaining in the playoffs, Philadelphia did it to them a lot. Tennessee did it even though they lost. That's the Dallas Cowboys' glaring weakness is they cannot stop the run. You've got 3 guys that you can line up in the backfield now because Elijah Mitchell is healthy, Christian McCaffrey is that guy, and Deebo Samuel is still a threat. You've got 3 guys on that team that you can put in that backfield that can run the ball down the Dallas Cowboys' throat. The 49ers have a phenomenal offensive line. The question mark here, and it's sad to say this for both teams, is the quarterback. For the Dallas Cowboys, Dak Prescott, it's been Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, right? Like it's been this entire thing where we have no idea what it is that we're going to get from Dak Prescott. The guy played 12 games this season and somehow still led the NFL or was tied for the lead in the NFL in interceptions. That is an absolutely mind-blowing statistic that Dak Prescott, of all people, played 12 games, had almost 100 less attempts than Davis Mills for the lowly, very lowly Houston Texans. And they both tied with 15 interceptions. That's an insane amount of interceptions if you have a guy that's a franchise quarterback. Josh Allen had 14 interceptions, but Josh Allen is known as a gunslinger. He's just going to risk everything and go out there and just throw the ball, and whatever happens, happens. He's like modern-day Brett Favre. Dak Prescott ain't that guy. Dak Prescott has made a lot of bad decisions. And again, Davis Mills and Josh Allen did that in 17-game schedules. Dak Prescott did this in 12 games. Imagine how much of a comfortable lead he would have if he played the entire season when it came to interceptions. So what version of Dak Prescott is going to show up for the Dallas Cowboys? Because as we know, the team goes the way your quarterback goes. Then you got to have the question here of how does Brock Purdy, the rookie 7th round, quote-unquote, mystery relevant pick of the San Francisco 49ers, who is now their starting quarterback because of all the injuries there. Trey Lance was bad. Jimmy Garoppolo was bad. And the pressure hasn't been on Brock Purdy to have to perform. Can the Dallas Cowboys put the pressure enough on San Francisco where Brock Purdy has a game where it's on his shoulders in the fourth quarter, and what's going to happen here? Because the 49ers games have been a bunch of blowouts. They've played a lot of cupcake teams leading up to this run in the playoffs. And to me, Seattle didn't deserve to be there. Seattle got put in there by the favor and mercy of the NFL officials. It should have been the Detroit Lions in the playoffs. I'll digress off of that, though. What has happened has happened. San Francisco got fat on a lot of weak teams. Flatly that simple. What version of each quarterback is going to show up? That's where you have your line of demarcation of what may or may not happen, right? So for me, whenever I look at both teams, I like the Dallas Cowboys running game. I love the Dallas Cowboys offensive line. I like San Francisco's running game. I love the San Francisco 49ers offensive line. There's no such thing as a bad team this deep into the playoffs. Clearly, you're good at some point in time because you won a playoff game to get to where you are, or you were the number 1 overall seed in your division, like Philadelphia and Kansas City were. So you have to be really good to be in this position where you are one of the top teams playing for a chance to represent your division in the division championship games. That means that your team had to be absolutely elite. Like this Elite 8 light lager that I'm about to drink, made painstakingly by Dallas Cowboys legendary quarterback Troy Aikman. My God, that's a good beer. Go ahead and get yourself some of this Elite 8 light lager anywhere they sell beer. I get mine at Albertsons here in El Paso. You can get it at Walmart. You can get it all over the place. Elite 8 light lager, no shortcuts, and only 2.6 carbs and 90 calories. Your boy looking a little more svelte because of this Elite 8 light lager. Go ahead, get yourself some, make your next beer absolutely elite. Here's the time. Who do we choose? Will it be the San Francisco 49ers or the Dallas Cowboys? My heart is telling me to go with the Dallas Cowboys. My brain is telling me to go with the San Francisco 49ers. I have never been one to listen to my brain. Shut up there, you. I'm going to pick the Dallas Cowboys because I'm a flaming idiot, and we'll see how this goes. But I like the matchup of knowing you know who you have at quarterback. It seems like we've got Dak somewhat right this week. Let's see how that goes with him. I choose the Dallas Cowboys over the San Francisco 49ers. I think this game is going to be an absolute bloodbath. I love what I've seen out of the San Francisco 49ers. This is not taking anything away at them. This is not making any slights towards them. This is me just flatly saying I believe the Dallas Cowboys at this point in time, with their quarterback being there, with them having a little more continuity, with that offensive line being looking like it's healthy, with them having so many options on offense, because you know that you could throw the ball, you could run the ball, you can be completely balanced with this team, with them having a defense that led the league in takeaways, with them having a defense that can put a lot of pressure on the quarterback, with DeMarcus Lawrence, with Micah Parsons. Leighton Vander Esch is finally back for that defense. They've got their anchor back at the middle linebacking spot. Once again, not taking anything away from the San Francisco 49ers. If the 49ers win, not surprised at all. I'll be heartbroken, but I won't be surprised at all. But I will choose the Dallas Cowboys to defeat the San Francisco 49ers, and I feel like I'm going to regret those words, so we'll see how it goes. Everybody, I want to thank you so much for tuning into tonight's show. I know it was a little impromptu, so I thank you so much for being a part of it. Everyone that commented, everyone that viewed as well. Remember, go check out our friends over at Three Missions Brewery, 10179 Socorro Road. Their one and only craft beer brewery down in the city of Socorro. Go get that Socorro Blondie. That's my favorite. And, of course, their new El Trio Membrillo. I can't wait to try that beer out. It's either going to happen tomorrow or Saturday, but it's definitely happening sometime this weekend. Once again, thank you all so much. I hope that you have a great football weekend, and hopefully your team wins, unless you're Travis, in which case, as I said last week, I'll say it this week, fuck the Giants.